What is up, everybody? Purple and Gold podcast for Tuesday, March the 31st. We will recap the pep rally like atmosphere of Will Wade's press conference yesterday at the Pete Maravich Assembly Center, and we'll give you a quick preview of LSU and Southern tonight. Let's start with Will Wade. Look, it was a great day, it was a great environment. There were some things that hit you right in the feels. There were some newsworthy moments. Will was Will. He was brash. He was funny. He was touching at times, and it was everything you wanted it to be. Let's just start with, the quote of the day for me. He acknowledged. He said, "I'm not for everybody, and LSU's not for everybody either, but I'm for LSU and LSU is for me." That is what I've been saying on this podcast for days and weeks. It's what I've said to everybody who knows me privately for years. I love the guy, and he is the right coach for LSU basketball. He was asked about his perception as a villain and the way he left NC State. And in classic Will Wade fashion, he did say that he was no longer concerned about what his perception is in the world. And he did say he wasn't going to get into a, back and forth about the way he left. But then he did have to get a little bit of a shot in where he said something to the effect of, they didn't think I was all that good a coach, but they're pretty mad that I left. And it was just classic, Will Wade getting his little dig in, but not really wanting to go down that road. He said one way or the other, right? He's either going to hang a banner in here and have a lot of success and win a national championship, or he's going to be the first guy to be fired twice at the same school. I did think it was telling when he came to the podium, he thanked, in order, Governor Jeff Landry, uh, Board of Supervisors, and President Lee Mallett, the Chairman Lee Mallett, President Wade Roos, and Heath Schroyer. He then thanked LSU's athletic department administration, but he never actually thanked Verge Osbury by name. Now, he mentioned Verge by name in several of his answers. I don't think this is necessarily a tense thing. I just think Verge sat this one out, right? I understand Verge is the athletic director, and Heath Schroyer will certainly report to Verge. Everybody has confirmed that, right? They're not going around Verge on any of this stuff, but Will Wade's direct report will be Heath Schroyer. That was confirmed through multiple people, including Schroyer himself, when he went on AFR yesterday with Matt Moscona for a wide-ranging interview. Here's what I think as far as putting a bow on the way this all went down. This was a year in the making, quite frankly. And Lee Mallett and Jeff Landry went to Scott Woodward last year. They asked him to hire Will Wade before someone else did hire him away from McNeese. Scott Woodward would not do it. And that was the beginning of whatever problems Scott Woodward would ultimately have with Governor Landry. All of the moves that Governor Landry made, with the possible exception of Verge Osbury. Verge Osbury was here to land Lane Kiffin. With all of the other moves, though, this was designed to put in place the people that would bring Will Wade back to LSU. Now let me say this about Wade Roos and about Governor Landry and about Lee Mallett. I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. I don't think it's a nefarious thing. Yes, they wanted Will Wade, but they also have made it quite clear that they want athletics to be the front porch of this university. And in this day and age of revenue sharing and NIL, there is a thought that you have to pick and choose the sports that you want to be good at. And I think obviously football is a non negotiable here at LSU, like it is at most places. But I think LSU is basically telling you we want to be good at everything. And with Heath Schroyer basically being assigned to raise money for men's basketball, with Zach Greenwell being assigned to raise money for baseball, with Clay Harris and that NILSU Max group primarily raising money for football, along with the respective coaches, obviously. LSU has a plan in place to be good at everything. Um, there was a thought, I think, in some circles that you might have to sacrifice women's basketball in order to give LSU men's basketball more money and to hire Will Wade and buy out Matt McMahon. I haven't heard anything that would lead me to believe that Kim Mulkey's getting shortchanged here at all. I think the revenue share will be the same. I think it's incumbent upon Will Wade and Heath Schroyer to raise some money on top of what was thought to be about a $9 or $10 million roster, right? So I think they'll have to go out and raise some money to beef the roster number up wherever it needs to go. Will did say in the press conference that there was not a number discussed, but the number is we're going to go out and build a competitive team and we want to win. And he talked about how the first year, when you have to go get a larger number of transfers, just like we saw with Lane Kiffin, there's going to be some sticker shock on that. LSU has a $40 million football roster because they had to retain the 6 guys they wanted to retain, and they had to go out and get 40 plus transfers. You would hope that next year, through high school recruiting, through retention of the players you have on the team now, that number wouldn't be nearly as high, both the number of transfers and the overall roster number. Look, we'll get into LSU's roster maybe next week and break it down and who do we think might be back. A number of players have entered the transfer portal already. Jalen Reed, but he said he will keep his options open. Maisie Mosley went in the portal. Ron Zipper. I expect they won't be the last. This may be a situation where all but 1 or 2 guys enter the portal. And we'll have plenty of time to get into that. But Will did say that they were not promised a roster number. I do think when you look at all of the finances and you look at all of the changes at LSU, the one spot that I do think we're headed for some sort of a meeting of the minds about would be baseball. I think I know Jay Johnson is upset that he is splitting the 5% of the revenue share with the other sports that remain. I know that Arkansas and Mississippi State and Texas A&M and others have put more money and more resources into their baseball roster than LSU currently has. And I think if this season doesn't end in an uber successful way, Jay's going to want to go out into the portal and shop at a different price tag than what he shopped in this past portal. So I do think that's one area of all of this that is potentially coming to a head. But for now, we're going to focus on the positives. And for now, we're going to focus on the fact that LSU men's basketball is back. Will Wade said he's not here to do anything but win. LSU doesn't accept mediocrity. He's going to win. He's going to win now. He talked about how tough the SEC is. He talked about how humbled he was by having to drop down to the group of 5 level and coach at McNeese. And he talked about how wherever he's been, he's won. And he did, I think, very thoughtfully point out that when you go to a new school, and you have to learn the lay of the land, and you have to build all these relationships, and you have to do all these things. He has that already. That part of this is like he never left in 2022. So I do think he will be successful right from the jump in terms of recruitment, in terms of transfers, in terms of booster support, fan support, ticket sales. I think all of that will work itself out in very short order, and LSU will be very successful in men's basketball very soon. Let's get a quick preview of LSU and Southern tonight. Southern Jags come to the box, 6:30. It's important LSU just not have a letdown here. Southern comes in, and they're an okay team. They beat McNeese. They came back to beat Prairie View on Sunday. They've won some games, but they've walked a lot of batters. I think LSU's walked 135 batters this year. LSU's pitching staff has walked a lot. Southern's walked 185. Southern's hit 30 some odd people. They can't pitch, and they're not going to use the kind of pitchers that would help them on the weekend anyway. LSU needs to come out, avoid a letdown, be emotional, be into the game, and come out and put up some runs on the board and win this game in a convincing fashion. LSU cannot afford to lose to a team that's somewhere in the range of 270 in the RPI. It'll probably be Reagan Ricken who will start again. Could be Marcos Paz. Could be Jaden Newt. We haven't seen Jaden Newt in a while. Either way, I think LSU will use a number of guys. I think they'd probably like to see Reagan Ricken or Marcos Paz, whoever starts, maybe give them 2 good innings, maybe 2+ good innings, like try to have a midweek starter who could actually get a little deep into the game. But this is going to be about LSU's offense, and it's going to be about LSU's ability to put the high of last weekend behind them, continue that forward tonight without looking ahead too much to Tennessee. I love Stanfield in the leadoff spot. I think the Stanfield, Brown, Cerna, Curiel, Pearson, I think that top 5 should be set in stone if it was me. And then you can fill in with Dardar and York and whoever's going to play second base. If Dardar's going to play second base, Mason Braun's going to DH. Kate Aaron Beatty should be back tonight to play. My guess is he'll catch tonight, and Cerna will DH. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about all of it. As always, like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Share, comment, follow me on X at RobG1124. As always, be good to one another. Always boot up, and always, always, always go Tigers.